How do you choose the right tire size and which is right for your vehicle? Today, I'm going to show you. All right, when choosing tire size, guys, there are so many things you have to consider. Big factors like how much do you drive in a year, what type of driving are you doing, what size you should go with. Is your truck stock or lifted? These are all questions that I'm going to answer for you here today. So let's get right into it. One of the things you need to figure out that's very important is tire sizing. This right here is a 33 12 50 20 that I am going to be putting on my truck here soon. Funny enough, it's the RT1. Really cool tire. Can't wait to try out. Just came out by TIS. But in sizing aspects, something like a 315 55 20 would be very similar to this, which is a 33 12 50 20. Now that sizing comparison, even though it matches up pretty good, the 315 is like a 33.6 in inches to diameter. The 1250 on it is like a 12.4, but actually measuring that is kind of confusing because it's metric, guys. To be honest with you, it's easier to just memorize the sizes and how they correlate to each other than it is to do the math in your head. So the aspect ratio on that, like a 315 55, right, would mean your section width, 315 is the actual width of the tire, or 55 would mean that that's 55% of the actual tire wall. So the higher the aspect ratio goes up, the more sidewall you're getting. Now, the section width, in just measuring it, when I first got into this industry, I was very confused because it would go up, the width and the height would go up. Now it kind of makes sense as to, okay, if I increase the millimeters of the width, the larger the sidewall if you're doing section width, because it both adds up to each other, which then can correlate to the aspect ratio. That's an insanely confusing explanation, and I'm sorry that I'm not the perfect teacher, and I probably did mess that up and you guys are gonna be even more confused, but a really easy way to get that right is tiresize.com. Just memorize the correlations to it. Something like a stock tire, for instance, if you're looking for one. A lot of times the F-150s and stuff like that are doing a 275 55, 275 60. Depending on which one of those you go with, it could either be a 32.4 or 33-inch diameter tire with a 10.6 width. So since that 275 is staying 275 instead of 55 or 60 for the aspect ratio, it's going to stay at 10.6 width. But since you changed that section width, it's going to go up in height now. So, real confusing way, but it is life. You got to figure it out. Another big factor is going to be how you drive, how much you drive during the year, right? So, how you drive. Both of these tires next to me, this one's gonna be an RT. This guy is a Ridge Grappler, so it's just an AT. But that being said, these are both phenomenal terrain tires. One is gonna be more efficient on the highway than the other, the Ridge Grappler is. At least that's from what I know. I haven't even tested this thing yet. But Ridge Grappler is phenomenal on the highway as well. You're gonna get roughly around 60,000 miles on this guy, unless you get, some havoc mistake on a tire or you hit a foul. When it comes to how much you drive during the year, if you're gonna be one of those people that just drives, 15 to 20,000 miles, 25,000, this is a phenomenal tire because it's gonna last you about 3 years. That's what the tire life should. I personally drive about 30 to 35,000 miles every year. So I'm looking for something with a mile rating of about 65,000. And if I can push that past the mile rating, like the AT3 has a 65,000 mile warranty. I love Toyota's tires, they're phenomenal. I would go ahead and purchase one with a higher mile warranty because it gives me more satisfaction and more ease to my mind that I'm going to get more for the tire, more through the tire throughout my years if I want to expand that, because tires are an expensive purchase. You don't want to spend $1,500 to $2,500 every year, right? Going with something like this or this, I don't even believe Nitto has a true mile warranty. It's a phenomenal tire, and we've ridden them past 70 before. Something that is not going to pass or hasn't passed in a lot of reviews for more than 10 to 20,000 miles. If you drive 30,000 miles in a year, you do not want that tire. Because even if you do the alignment on some of these tire brands, they're just crappy tires. And yes, you're saving money, but ultimately, if you spend $1,000 twice a year, you should have just gone with the nicer tire that's going to last 4 times the amount of time you have that one tire for. And so that's a big factor. Whether or not you actually do stuff in the mud or on trails is another large factor, because driving in something like this, is perfect for getting that aggressive look without having a crappy quality of ride. I actually can't say that for this yet because I haven't driven in it, but I know the Ridge Grappler like the back of my hand. Driving in it is comfortable. Yes, it also has terrain abilities, for instance, like going off-roading or going on the beach. Mud is a little bit iffy in it, but definitely trails and beach-wise, this thing's phenomenal. And in the snow, actually, or the AT3. Also phenomenal in the snow. I would choose this in the snow over almost any tire. But recognize what you're actually doing with the vehicle. And if you're not going mudding, unless you want that insanely, I love how I'm saying this because it's so cliche. I have mud tires. I do live on a farm, so I need it sometimes, but it definitely gives it a much more aggressive look to have mud tires. But recognize when you drive on the highway, they suck. They're not fun to drive it. They do give you a big buzz, humming noise, which if you like it, that's great. But ultimately, it's really just a look thing, especially if you're just going on the highway. Down to kind of tread patterns. On a lot of ATs to mud categories, you'll see big changes. You turn this guy around, you see there are a lot of different grooves in this guy. And on the side here, you'll see that it actually has spots here. It has spots to kick out mud. So this line will line up right in here, and that's why they call them like teeth or something on the tire. It's spots to kick out mud and gravel and other stuff to where it gets lodged in you. Same with water, and that's why traction on these and on the open country AT3s is very good, because it's got a lot of different grooves where water can beat in and beat out. And so that's phenomenal. On mud tires, you will not see that as much. Mud tires are a much more simple pattern. For that reason, I mean, you've got a lot more gap in the tire to be able to grip mud. Whereas something like this, since you don't have a lot of space, mud needs to actually grip into something. If this doesn't have all the space for it, then it's just going to slide. And you see that very often with people getting stuck, especially in street tires. You'll see that, especially somebody that doesn't have four-wheel drive. You'll see that their tires literally just look like they're flying on ice, right? Because they don't have grips to where that mud can actually connect with the tire and move. That being said, different aspects to an all-terrain and a mud tire, very important. If you're doing highway driving, you don't have a lifted truck or something like that, just go with it. Go with a street tire. All right, picking out the right tire for your truck. Obviously something like this, a 37 1350 24, will not fit on a stock unit. I'm sorry, you guys can hate me. If you want something like even a 33, which I've done on my truck and I put it on stock rims, I still had to do a leveling kit and I still had to trim a tad bit. I mean, well, I had to put a spacer and I didn't really have to do too much trimming at all. But I had to put a little spacer in, which I do not advise putting spacer in, so everybody knows I'm just a hypocrite. But fitting any of these tires on a stock unit is insanely difficult and will cause a lot of problems. So fitting a 37, typically you'll see people do 37, 1350, 24s on 2500s. Not saying you can't do it on 1500s, it's just that it doesn't happen too much. If you were to do a 37, 1350, 24, typically 24s you're gonna see 12 and up for width. And so that would give you a negative 44 offset, sticking you up about 4 inches or more if you wanna have the wider tire and wheel stance. With that, typically you're gonna have to do about a 4-inch lift if you want a 24 sticking out 4 or more inches on a 2500, depending on which one it is, of course. 33s, honestly, height-wise, it's right about the same as to what most of the companies are putting in their stock units for 1500s. You'll see Fords, I believe Toyota is actually one of the only ones that doesn't, unless it's the TRD Off-Roader Pro. But I do know Ram, Chevy, and Ford for sure does a 275 60/20 on the Lariats and then Platinums, I believe. And that comes out to a 33 10.6. And so the only thing changing in that is gonna be the width of your tire. This is a 1250. If you wanna do the bubble build, which a lot of folks love, including myself, you'll have to run a spacer on it or do a lift. But even with the lift, you'll still probably have to do a spacer just to get that tire, the wheel sitting out a little bit further in order for you to not rub the belt liner, your control arm, different aspects of the vehicle, because that wheel is, I believe, an 8.25 width. So it's real thin, and it sits really close to the hub wall. You can definitely do a 33 on a leveled unit. You can do 35s, 1250s on a 4-inch. You recognize you're gonna have to trim. I've seen people do 37s on a 6. You have to trim. The accurate sizing, I mean, we do 35, 1250, 22s with negative 44 offset. We still have to trim some on the F-150s, guys, because that wheel is so wide that you need a lot more space in order to get that wheel to fully turn. Honestly, that's a lot of info, and maybe I didn't answer your question. That's why I will say the best case scenario for all the Tacoma users, the Titan, any other truck that I did not mention in that, or I didn't mention the size, or I didn't mention the lift kit, please just call us. Call us, call Rough Country, call any shop that does use tires sizes in many different ways on many different vehicles, just that you can get accurate knowledge as to which one you are able to go with and the things you need to do to make it fit. So, real important, do not fit this guy on your Tacoma as long as it's stock. But, or leveled, or a 4-inch, or a 6-inch. It's gotta be like 8, 10, yeah, then you're all right. Now, down to budget. With the budget of tires, to be honest with you, there are good tires that don't cost as much. Something like a Fury or a TIS RT1. I've had the TT1s. I'm at 35, 40,000 miles on them, and I'm at halfway life on my tread. They have survived a literal, it looked like a hatchet head has gone into my tire, and the amount of tread that I had saved it, and it did not deflate or do anything. I'm good. It's wild, but these, in my head when I saw them, looked like a combo between the AT3s and the Ridge Grapplers, and I was super excited. Haven't read them yet, but these guys, the 33s at least, were like $330 a piece, which was wild. I'm super excited to run these. They look very similar to these guys, and from what I've heard, they ride phenomenally and they're quiet, and the traction's amazing on them. I mean, looking at the indentations for the rain and the different trail aspects like your mud and then your teeth on the sidewall, it has plenty. I'm excited to run them. They're budget tires. They look really cool, and from what I've heard, they're phenomenal. TT1 so far started off kind of rugged, but they're riding really nice now, and they are mud tires, which is weird. But the Ridge Grapplers are an all-around phenomenal tire. The AT3s are my favorite tire in the industry. Both ride smooth and sound, almost like a street tire. It's kind of funny. I know Open Country, they have my favorite grip out of every tire. They are more expensive though. If you're looking at a 35, 1250, 22, that's just what I'm going off of because I priced them so much. Those tires are like $600. And so if you want a budget, I honestly wouldn't shy away from trying something like this. We're going with a Fury. The Furies are right around the same price in that $400 mark for 35s. These I believe are right around $380, $420, somewhere in that range for 35s. It's pretty wicked that you can finally get something decent. From what I've heard, like I said about these, but I've ridden in Furies plenty. They're very decent tires and they are not too expensive. So if you're looking for budget tires, those are some options. If you're looking for the all-around best tires, these are the options. Your AT3 and your Nitto Ridge Grappler, your BF Goodrich, your Mickey Thompson Bajas, all phenomenal. They ride right about the same. There are little bits and pieces that ride differently. For instance, I don't actually like the look of the BFG too much, but the traction I find better than the Nitto. AT3, also not as good looking in my opinion as this, better looking than the BFG, but the traction on it is the best out of any tire that I've ever ridden in. And then also noise-wise, things quiet as all get out, just a tad bit moister than this. Ultimately, these are your higher dollars. These guys are gonna be budget ones. So when it comes down to it, figure out what you want, figure out how much you're willing to sacrifice and how highly you think of your ride quality and who you ride with, right? Because I don't want to ride in a red dirt road with my grandma on the passenger seat. So that is a wrap up of tires, which ones you should choose for your vehicle, which ones you like, and how to price them out and what to expect from them, how to size them out. Everything like that. If you have any questions, which I hope you do because this is a loaded topic, please give us a call at 301-694-4642 or visit KreitzCustoms.com. By the way, at the end of the year, if we hit 50,000 subscribers, we are giving away a free set of wheels and tires to one of you guys. So please go ahead and hit that subscribe button. We'll see you when we give you your tires and wheels.